Welcome in, everybody, to another special edition of AYS Sports. We're here at Service Hawk Digital Media, where you can soar above the competition with Service Hawk Digital, expert marketing for HVAC, electrical, and generator pros. We are here. I told you, man, business growth. That's why we're here as well. If you own a business or you know someone that owns a business and needs help and growth in their business, tell them and let them know about our good friends over right here above my shoulder in this digital frame. Service Hawk Digital Media is where we're at. Looking forward to today's special episode here. So look, every day we come in, or every week we've come in here and done a special episode in reference to what has happened in the week of LSU, specifically LSU football. And we need to start off with a couple of things. Number one, last week was absolutely atrocious. And there can be a lot of different reasons that we point to. There can be a lot of reasons that we look at and say, LSU, it was not ready. They haven't been ready the last 2 weeks last two games that they've played against Texas A&M and Alabama. But one thing is simple for me when I look at LSU after the last 2 weeks again, or last two games against A&M and Alabama. I'm starting to question if you have the personnel that can lead you to where you want to go, that can lead you into this 12-team playoff. Look, it's simple. LSU football needs difference makers. If you run a successful business, it's no different than when you're on the football field. If you don't go get difference makers, none of this is going to matter. You know, if you run a business, a lot of you just got done talking about business owners and talking about our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital. If you do not bring in difference makers, nothing's going to change whether you're in business. The reason great businesses have growth, the reason that businesses do as well as they do is because they go out and they recruit. They go out and get top earners. They go out and get people and individuals that are going to make a difference. Guys, it is very apparent in the last two games that you've played, you have not been able to stop. Without a doubt, have not been able to stop a quarterback that can run. And this week, you're not necessarily going to face that in Florida against DJ Lagway, but you have been getting dominated up front in the line of scrimmage. You haven't been able to make plays on the outside when teams have been running the football on you. You've given up 275 yards per loss in the SEC under Brian Kelly. It's it's the biggest thing that continues to get you beat. When you face a physical football team, whether it be A&M, whether it be Alabama, whether it be USC who got after you in the beginning of the season, whether you look at the first year under Brian Kelly, whether it be Georgia, whether it be Tennessee when they ran for over 200 on you, regardless of who the team is, teams have been able to line up and run right at you, and you've had no answer for it whatsoever. You're 15th in the SEC in run efficiency rate defensively, meaning you're almost dead last in being able to stop the run. That's not going to win you football games. I don't care how good you are offensively. I don't care how many playmakers you have offensively. If you cannot stop teams from running the football on you, you're going to continue to be where you're at over and over and over again. You're going to continue to be that 9-3 borderline playoff team that you don't want to be, where I don't want to be, not only as a fan, but someone who does this religiously every day. Guys, we do 7 episodes a week. It's only 7 days a week. We're here every single day. And one thing is constant, okay? If you're not – we continue to have these conversations. If you are not able to stop teams from running the football on you, you're not going anywhere. You won't go anywhere. So what does Brian Kelly got to do? Look, you've gone out and got different position coaches. You've gone out and gotten different coordinators. You've gone out and got different analysts. You've done a lot of different things from the coaching aspect. And I think Blake Baker is a really good defensive coordinator. I think you have a really good coaching staff with Davis, Peoples, Raymond. Maybe we'll have to see with Jake Olson, but I still think that you have a really good defensive staff. There's one thing that you're desperately missing. You got to go out there and Ole Miss this thing. Now, I know that when I've said that you need to go in the portal and spend the money and get players to get here, guys, you're not going to have nothing's going to change for you next year unless you do that. You're bringing in a really talented recruiting class, and I understand that. But those guys, those freshmen, are not going to be ready to be the difference makers that you need next season. They're not going to be that. So when I look at LSU and the deficiencies and the problems that they have. You need safety help. Safety play has been abysmal. We're going to come back to that in a minute. You need linebacker help. You need help in the interior of your defensive line. If you can't do that, a year ago, in a year from now, not a year ago, but a year from now, we're going to be sitting here at Service Hawk and we're going to be having a conversation about why things continue to stay the same. If you don't change things, things will remain the same. You're in the same exact position from wins and losses that you were a year ago. It's not where you want to be. It's not where I want to be. It's not where anybody wants to be. Again, think about a business. What do elite businesses do? What does businesses like Coke and Lowe's and Home Depot and name the great businesses? Think about your great local business. What do they do? What all of them have in common is that they go out and get difference makers. Going back to safety play, as I just mentioned, guys, safety play under Brian Kelly has been arguably the worst position that we've had. I don't think it's an opinion at this point. Like, I think that we can look at this team defensively and say, listen, safety play has been the biggest problem that we've had. Now, in year one, when you had Jay Ward and you had Greg Brooks, you were able to mask some things about two guys, one that's still in the NFL and Jay Ward, and God bless Greg Brooks. But you and even Greg Fouché was able to come in and spell and get a big interception against Ole Miss that turned the tide of that game, and you were able to win it. Safety has been the worst position on LSU all 3 years under Brian Kelly. It's not. I don't think it's remotely close at this point. Now, it doesn't help that you've been in a position where the defensive line and linebackers haven't been able to give you help, and that you're going to have to change things there. I do think that you have some young talent at those positions, specifically at safety with Deshaun McBride or Deshaun Spears. I think you have it in young guys like Keys and Atkins and those guys. You get a guy like Don McKinley and Ahmad Bro, but you want to know what the differences are in where you're at. Like, why haven't we changed anything? You got to look at defensively. Now, I have been very pro defense. I think that they've done some really good things this year. And look, man, when the going got tough and you needed to stop a running quarterback the last two games, the last 6 quarters, you have not had an answer. You've been out of position. You've not been able to make plays. So until that changes and until you're able to find a way to stop teams from running the ball on you, you're not going to win. Now, looking at this game against Florida, Florida does not possess. Let me take a sip of water here. Florida does not possess the ability to be able to have a quarterback, whether it be DJ Lagway, who's coming off an injury, or the Warner kid. They do not possess the ability to have a quarterback that can run on you. And you've been somewhat moderately decent against teams and quarterbacks that just want to sit back and drop back and throw it on you. The problem that I have with Florida this week, and why I think that I don't know what to expect from this defense, is, quite honestly, even though you've beaten Florida the last 2 years, Billy has scored a lot of points on you. A lot of points on you have been scored when you look at Florida versus LSU the last 2 years. And why is that? Because Billy Napier likes to use what we call in football eye candy. They're going to send a lot of motions. They're going to use a lot of play action. They're going to get you out in space. They're going to make you make right decisions. And if you're not sound, if you don't know your assignment, Billy is going to do what he did last year when they scored 30-plus on you, and the year before that when they scored a lot of points on you with a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. If you cannot – and by the way, speaking of Florida, I just thought about Anthony Richardson. He had a massive run on you too in year one. So Billy's been able to score on you. And so when I look at defense, when I look at Florida, if you're not fundamentally sound, if you don't know your assignments, guys, you're going to be in a dogfight. Now, I know a lot of people think that, hey, man, we're going to beat Florida. We should beat Florida. And you should. You 1,000% should. You are the better football team. But what I've seen from this team the last 6 quarters, especially defensively, not just not being able to stop running quarterbacks, but being out of your gaps, being out of assignment. It's like, guys, if I give you anywhere in the country, if you go to work and your boss gives you an assignment and you continuously do it wrong, I'm not saying you get fired, but there's a really strong chance that your boss is going to have a lot of questions. And so now that we are, 9 games, about to be 10 games into this, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again, you have to start questioning, does this team know what they need to do down in and down out? Look, offensively, looking at Florida against their defense, I think that you can move the ball. I think that you can throw on them a little bit. I still think that if you, God bless, Captain America, if you cannot run on this football team, you should be able to line up and run against Florida. You should be able to throw the ball against Florida. We talked about this this week early, and I'm going to emphasize it more here. Guys, they're 100th in the country in total defense. They're 90th in the, or 90 plus in the country in run defense. They've not been able to stop teams from throwing the football around. CC Texas from last week, even though Texas hasn't been able to run the football either, they were able to line up and run the football in Florida last week too. Man, you're going to keep this. You're going to keep Florida in this football game if you continue to turn the ball over. These interceptions, these turnovers, the last 5 games have got to stop. You will continue to keep teams that have no business being around you. You'll keep teams that you should beat around you if you keep giving them the football. I look at last week. Let's run through this. Last week, you get a turnover on downs. The very next play, you have a fumble, which they recover. You get down in the red zone. You're about to score and make it a 1-score game. You throw an interception. Guys, you can't win. You can't win football games like that. You scored 12 points in the last 6 quarters. Guys, that is 2 points a quarter is not going to win you any football game. Now, you face 2 really pretty decent defenses in A&M and Alabama, but it's not as if A&M or Alabama haven't given up big plays and defensively not made mistakes. I mean, I look at A&M. They let Lenore Sellers and Raheem let me back up. They let Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders run all over them 2 weeks ago. Alabama let Vanderbilt run all over them, and you didn't have an answer. So I do question the mentality offensively. I question schematics and what you're doing. Like you refuse to continue to run outside zone, which has actually been a problem for Florida all year. You continue to throw the football, and when you do that, you're going to one specific target over and over and over again, and nothing is changing. Meanwhile, Aaron Anderson is the most productive percentage-wise player that you have offensively, and you're not going to him. Same with Mason Taylor. You're not going to him. The 2 players that you have seen so far this year who are, number 1, the most productive when they touch the football, and number 2 are difference makers, you refuse to get them the football out in space. That, I'm not saying that that's a fireable offense. I'm not calling for anybody's head or anything like that. Until you make an adjustment of getting your playmakers the ball and you keep turning the ball over, guys, you're going to be in a dogfight in the swamp, in Florida, in Gainesville at 2:30. You're going to be wondering why are we midway through the 3rd quarter and this is a 1-score football game. Now, if DJ Lagway doesn't play, I just fully expect that you, even though you've been chaotic offensively the last 6 quarters, I still think that you can outscore them. But I have no faith in you offensively right now. You're going to have to prove that, number 1, you can sustain drives more than just having these spurts and erratic spurts in and out of football games. You're going to have to prove to people that you cannot turn the football over. The last game that we didn't turn the ball over was Arkansas. Garrett didn't throw a touchdown, but he also didn't throw any interceptions. He had 2 interceptions that got dropped, but that was the best game that you have played under Brian Kelly this year. Not an opinion. So you got to get back to that. When teams are giving you stuff, when teams are playing off coverage against you, you got to take those yardage. You got to get Aaron Anderson and Mason Taylor the football. I love Kyron Lacy. I love him. But at the same time, the amount of targets that you're giving Kyron Lacy for the production that you're getting is not working. I think about Billy Bean in Moneyball, the movie Moneyball, and I think about the analytical stuff that they did. If analytically it's not working for you, then you got to change things up. I think of Billy Bean changing Major League Baseball and baseball in general forever. You know, if I look at a guy like Aaron Anderson or Mason Taylor and I say, hey, why don't you play a little money ball here and get it to the more efficient player that you have on your team, then you're going to have success. Like I don't understand the logic or the thinking or the mindset behind, hey, this guy's doing well, this guy's doing well. Why don't we get them the football? What are we doing? It's like, you know, I'm not gonna say that, but actually I am gonna say it. Ladies, you're gonna have to forgive me, and guys, we're gonna have to edit this. It's like if my wife keeps telling me to take out the garbage, and I know it makes her happy when I do chores around the house, and I refuse to continue to do them. Right? Like I just continue to pass over the fact that she wants me to do something, and I continue to forget to do it. Right? Like I know that I'm going to get an ass chewing. I know she's going to be mad. So why are we continuously not going to the most productive players on our team? It's idiotic. It's stupid. And until that changes, nothing will change of you as a football team. Another thing about us offensively, if we don't find ways to run the football against Florida, I am going to lose it. I'm going to blow a gasket because I see a team in Florida that has legitimately not been able to stop teams running the football on them. I look at Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee did it in the second half, and good on Florida. I mean, they kept that game close, but they could not throw the football to save their life. But when everybody in the stadium knew that Tennessee was lining up and running the football, Florida could not stop it. I look at Florida against Texas A&M. I know Marcel Reed had a big deal in that because they could line up and run the football on them. Like I look at all of these games that Florida has played and teams, and even Georgia, who, quite honestly, guys, is a lot like you, who has massive struggles running the football. Guys, there were moments and times that they could line up and run on Florida. God bless the United States of America if you can't line up and run the football. I'm gonna lose it. I can't. How do you go an entire week and watch every game that Florida has played this year and say, this team ran the ball, this team ran the ball, that team ran the ball, this team ran the ball, and say to yourself, you know what, we're going to get with Garrett Nussmeier and we're going to drop back and throw the ball 45 times? Do you know how idiotic that will be? And I'm serious. I'm going to blow a gasket. I'm literally going to come in here in Service Hawk and blow a gasket, and these ladies are going to be like, this guy's an idiot. He's a pure on idiot. You better run the football, man. You're not winning this football. You are not going to win this football game if you can't run the ball for 125 yards. Now, it's interesting. I said the same exact thing last week against Alabama, that if you don't run the ball for over 125 yards, you're not coming close to winning this football game. And what happened? So, again, I still think that if you're having trouble, see, and this is the problem that I have. A lot of people have focused in on that we have problems in the interior of our offensive line running the football. I don't disagree with you in saying that we have had problems in the interior of our offensive line running the football. Well, then you're going to still have to run the football and keep teams honest. Why are you constantly still running behind them? You know, Paul Mabinga goes into his first start, and God bless Paul Mabinga, but he goes into his first start at left guard, and in crucial downs in the red zone, you decide to line up and run the ball behind Paul Mabinga. Meanwhile, you have two tackles that have played moderately well that you refuse to run behind. Get your speed back out on the perimeter and make them make plays. Make Bama, make A&M, make Florida, make plays on you. Because every time that you've gone out to the perimeter and you've run the football, you've had success. You've had massive amounts of success. So imagine Brian Kelly coming out in a press conference every week, which he's been doing, by the way. Imagine him coming out every week and saying, hey, guys, you know, we know that we're having issues in their interior offensive line, but we're going to continue to run the ball right behind them. The logic just does not make sense. It does not make sense. All right, final thing here before we wrap up this special episode. We got to talk about quarterback play. And I know that, and listen, I know when we talk about quarterback play, and I know when we talk about Garrett Nussmeier, it does not do me any favors to come out here and critique and criticize quarterback play. There are a lot of you that love Garrett Nussmeier as a player and a quarterback. I'm with you. Guys, I want Garrett Nussmeier to have massive amounts of success. Massive amounts of success. If he has massive amounts of success, we as a team have success. Me as a podcast has success. You as a fan are happy because we're having success. Everybody is happy as a lark. You're as happy as a kid on Christmas morning and knowing that Santa came to give you all your presents. Guys, quarterback play for LSU right now is not good. And it certainly has not been good the last 6 quarters. Now, we have criticized Joe Sloan. We have criticized Brian Kelly. We have criticized this offensive line. We have criticized this running game. We have criticized everything. If you continue to turn the ball over, you are going to lose. I told you that in the beginning of the season. I'm going to tell you this again now. Oh, here goes Blake. He sounds like a broken record. Well, was it any less true then as it is right now? No. The number one objective of any quarterback ever in the history of football, the number one goal is to not turn the ball over. You cannot continue to do it. When I look at Texas A&M in the second half, you had 2 turnovers, really bad turnovers. When I look at Alabama, you had 3 really bad turnovers. So you have turned the ball over in the last 6 quarters 5 times. So a little bit less than 1 a game, or 1 a quarter, excuse me. Guys, when that happens, there's no way that you can beat teams. You have 12 points. Now, here's where I'm going to stick up for Joe Sloan for just a moment in this play calling. You and I both watch our good friend Carter's film breakdown every week. And Carter beautifully illustrates massive amounts of times where guys underneath from the line of scrimmage to 10 yards, guys are wide open. Mason Taylor being wide open. Aaron Anderson being wide open. C.J. Daniels being wide open. Guys, when you illustrate and you can show that these guys are open and you're still having issues connecting in the passing game, what's the problem? It's not as if that Garrett is under massive amounts of pressure. Guys, he's the least pressured quarterback in the SEC. He's the least pressured quarterback in the entire Power 4. So you can think, well, man, the interior offensive line's bad. Okay, well, they may be bad. But you're going to have to explain to me why Garrett's got the number 1 pressure rate, meaning he has had the cleanest pockets than anybody in Power 4. Why is that so? Why is he still missing things? What I think is happening here with Garrett, so to get to him, I think at the line of scrimmage, Garrett is seeing one thing before the play, changing stuff up, and then the defense changes things up on him. And then by the time he's got to snap the ball, he either is preconceiving where he wants to go with the football, or he thinks that they're doing one thing and they're not. I don't know if LSU offensively running a little bit of tempo wouldn't help Garrett. We have the play. We're going to run the play, and we're going to execute on this play. We have the play, run the play, execute the play. But when I look at Garrett Nussmeier, I look at a quarterback right now who does not know what he's seeing. Now, people say, well, his confidence is shook, and maybe it is shook. But he doesn't know what he's seeing. I don't think he knows what coverages he's seeing. I don't think he knows every single aspect of what the offense is doing on every single play. When I look at him, I don't think that he knows every intricate detail of what he should be doing. And number one, and the only way that he's going to change that is, number one, if he prepares more, if he's living inside inside football ops and he's preparing, if him and Joe Sloan, I'm sure they are, they're coming up with 15 to 20 to 35 plays that Garrett really likes and just sticking with that. But until Garrett stops turning the ball over and starts making better decisions, quarterback play is going to stay where it's at. Now, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed from the time Garrett has been here to right now that I can look at him and say that his decision making has improved drastically. Now we look at Wisconsin, we look at the Bama game where he came in last year, and even then he turned the ball over once. Wisconsin had another drop pick. Alabama, he wasn't in the game long enough to turn the ball over. Guys, in most games that Garrett Nussmeier plays, he's going to average around 2 turnovers. And that is poor decision making, and that is lack of care for the football. I hope today, and I would expect today as we're recording this before it comes out, Brian Kelly is going to talk on the SEC teleconference. It's actually in a couple minutes that we got to listen, or he's going to be on the teleconference. I hope Brian Kelly is asked about these turnovers in more specific detail. Like, what are you doing to try to fix that? Because until you fix it, until you find a way to fix that specific issue, guys, you're not going to be where you want. You're not going to go where you want to go. All right. So as you've seen above my shoulder in the little digital frame here, we were and we are here with our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital Media, expert marketing for HVAC, electrical, and generator pros. A little news flash to anybody that's watching this special episode. We're going to be here for the post game. So, hopefully it'll change a little bit of luck. Maybe LSU does better when I'm not in our home studio, and they do better when we do post-game shows from Service Hawk Digital. And if they do, I'll continue to do them from here. So we're going to change some things up. I appreciate all the good friends over at Service Hawk Digital, Lee, Justin, and the gang. Until next time, we'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good day. Peace.